Hey, everybody, it is Monica, and it is time for Notary Meet and Greet. It is Wednesday night, and we are about to get started. And the way we get started every single Wednesday night is by starting our line. So for all of you guys who have questions, procedural questions, or questions about the notary business in general, or something that happened this week, or whatever, however it fits into your notary business, please raise your hand and start a line, and Ms. Zara is going to bring you off of mute one by one to address your questions. Do we have anybody that's got a hand up? Not yet. Looks like you guys are just ready to get into it. I bet you guys are just ready to get into the thick of things tonight, huh?
Yes, I'm stoked.
Okay, well, hey, if there's no questions, then we can get started. Okay, Zara, I thought I was gonna get you to get me some help there, but that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and get started. As people come in, I'll stop and check to see if anybody that joins us later has any questions. So tonight, meet and greet is gonna be a little bit different format. Normally, we just kind of chat it up for 2 hours about whatever and everything that's going on, and they are always awesome conversations. However, tonight, we just are gonna switch things up. We gotta get some work done, and we're gonna make this a productive 120 minutes, okay? So for all of your NNU or customer support questions, for those of you guys who are members at Notary Nerd University, we're gonna ask you to email those to the support email or give a call to the telephone number and then let that support request get handled that way. Tonight is gonna be all about the thick of the SOP development. Every single one of us, even if you're not planning on building a team, need a SOP manual. And you're gonna create it tonight. Yay! Why is there nobody excited? Myra looks like she's happy. Kimmy looks like she's happy. Zara's happy. Okay, Martina, yay! Okay, so do you guys have a notebook and a piece of paper? Everybody got
Absolutely.
Okay, Kimmy's got hers. Myra's got hers.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, guess what? Throw it away, because you're not gonna need it. I've got something even better for you. So for those of you guys who are on the chat, on the desktop, you're gonna check your chat. If you are not on a desktop and you are on your phone, you're gonna have to figure out how to get this link that I'm fixing to drop, okay?
I gotta get on the desktop.
This is go time. We don't have a line. Everybody's ready to go. And so we're getting ready to go straight into this, We're getting ready to go straight into the standard operating procedure development. So here's what we're about to do. Now, I need for you to look into the chat, and I'm dropping a link. Oh, wait a minute. Before I drop this link, I've got to add something to it real quick. Hold on just a second. Let me add something to it really quickly. Y'all bear with me. How's everybody doing?
Amazing. Today's been a great day, but busy and productive for sure.
Yeah.
I'm doing great.
That's a good thing.
Day of marketing today, so I'm super excited.
Yes.
Oh, was that did some marketing today?
I did Virginia signatures. I can't turn my camera on for some reason, but yes.
Nice. The marketing is all I've been hearing about. Everybody's been talking about it. It's just a big, important thing. I mean, like, you can't do anything without that. But anyway, hold on just a second. I'm typing in a couple of extra things I just thought of that I want to make sure get included on this form.
And I did my numbers last night with the class that we were in.
Yeah.
I'm in profit. Like a lot though. Yes.
Awesome. How much, what was your return on investment? Like, what is your, like, after you got everything done up through yesterday, what percentage return on investment are you currently?
Mine says like it says 700. Hold on, I'm not looking at it right now, but it says like, I think it's like 789, if I'm not mistaken, 789%.
Girl, you have got to be kidding me right now.
No,
that is amazing.
Yeah, but I can't believe, but I don't know what to do with the money. But we'll talk about that later, y'all.
Yeah, that's another call. Okay, so everybody check your chat real quick. There is a link. Okay, so throw those big bulky notebooks away, or at least don't throw them away. Put them to the side for now, okay? Because you're gonna use those you're gonna type up your standard operating procedures after you do this. So let me explain. For those of you all who just came in, we're changing the format. We're going to develop our standard operating procedures tonight. Once you get a chance, check the chat, and there's a link to this form that I'm looking at. Now, listen closely. When you go through this form, a copy will be sent to you. So once we get all the way through to the end, we're gonna do step by step by step. Don't try to get ahead of me. Go ahead and pull it up and stop where I am. I know some of you guys are probably already moving forward. Make sure you get it pulled up, stop where I am. If you have any difficulty getting the form, the link to the form, let me know now. I need to know who's having difficulty getting to the form. If you have difficulty accessing the form, please raise your hand and let me know now before we get started, okay? Now, once you've completed everything on this form, you're gonna get a nice little email. And that email is gonna have everything that you just submitted. So Cassandra is having difficulty getting access. Cassandra, are you on your cell phone?
No, I'm on my laptop.
Oh, okay, so on your laptop, you wanna go to the little Zoom bar, if you will, and where it says chat, you wanna click on chat. And I am, again, going to make it a fresh entry by adding the link to the chat. So I want everybody to get on. Shawana, I'm gonna wait on you. Everybody get situated and make sure you get this form pulled up, okay?
Hi, Monica.
I see it,
Hey,
Monica.
Urania.
I'm driving again, so I'm hurrying up and getting home.
Okay, well, drive safely, and we'll be here when you get there. We'll make sure you get everything when you get there.
Okay.
Just let us know when you get there and chime back in so we can make sure I put the link again in the chat.
Monica,
Okay.
When I click on the link, I don't have that same screen. I have more options to input, like my name, the state I'm
Oh,
in.
you're right. There you go. I'm sorry. So your screen actually should look like this.
Monica, I don't see that screen. I go in there and I see contact information, RSVP, party invite.
Oh, let me put this, let's look at this next one. Go back into the chat. I might have accidentally copied the wrong one. So go back into the chat right now, Sandra, and I just put it in there again. So get the most recent link. All right, Cassandra, how are you doing? Let me know. Once I get it all clear from you, we'll get started. And then once Urania gets home, she's gonna remind me and we're gonna put the link back in there again.
Hey, Monica.
Yes.
Monica, this Meredith. Do we use the email that we set up everything through Notary Nerd, or can we use a different email?
Oh, on this? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Whatever you want to use is fine.
All right, cool.
Good question. Yeah, whatever email you want to use, guys, you can use it on this form. This is just so that where you want to receive this information, I should put it that way. So whatever email you want to receive this information that you're about to input in here, because we're about to do the SOPs. We're about to knock it out tonight. So after tonight, you'll have the framework for your SOPs. Now, here's the thing. Some of you guys are Ron, some of you guys are in Florida, some of you guys are in Texas, some of you guys work direct, some of you guys work for signing services, some of you guys do primarily refi, some of you guys do a lot of cash outs. So you will have to tweak your own individual SOPs according to your state and revenue sources, right? What we're doing tonight is a general group of SOPs that every single notary business needs to make sure they have, okay? So let's talk about SOPs real quick and why they are important, okay? Aquanita, you need the link? Okay, no problem. I'm pasting it in here. There you go.
Monica.
So here's, yes?
I'm sorry. I when I copy and paste it, I get something different, but if I click on the link in the chat, it opens up to where you are. So that's the problem I was having.
Okay, so you fixed it, now you got it.
Right.
Perfect, okay. So here we go. So what we want to do with a standard operating procedure is understand McDonald's, right? I have gone to McDonald's in Kansas City. I have gone to McDonald's in Memphis, Tennessee. I have gone to McDonald's in Florida. And guess what? The process is the same no matter which McDonald's I go to, give or take a couple of differences. Your staff is going to be different, and maybe your customer service may be on different levels or whatever. But for the most part, my hamburger is going to be the same and everything's going to be the same. Okay. When you have a notary service, you want to establish a standard of operating that is the same no matter what client you're dealing with. They're going to get that same level of service. This is extremely important for those of us who are in process of building our teams, right? Because you've established a great reputation going out and getting all these signings and building all these relationships with the signing services and these direct clients. And you don't need your team members coming on and lessening that, right? So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to set the standard for how you're going to operate. Now, you still, like I said before, will need to customize your standard operating procedures when it comes to certain things. So as we go through this, keep that in mind. All right, let's get started. What is your name? Let's enter it. First name, last name. What state am I in? Tennessee. Are you a remote online notary? I'm just going to check in progress because I started the process, but I haven't done it. I haven't finished it. All right, has everybody got that part done? Let's go to the next screen. All right, signer confirmation call. Folks, it starts at the beginning. When you pick up that telephone and you call that signer to confirm that signing, you need to have a set standard group of questions that you ask, and those questions are designed to make sure your signing goes smoothly. Okay, now every signing is going to be different, but each notary service provider should have a standard list of questions asked when calling to confirm the appointment. I just said that. Okay, so 10 questions. I want you to come off of mute. I'm going to get 10 volunteers. Now listen. If you already know the 10 questions that you are going to ask your signer, you can just go ahead and start typing away. However, this is an SOP mastermind. If I were you, I wouldn't try to hurry up and get the answers in so that I could hit submit. I would sit and let us listen to what some of the other notaries on the call are recommending. And then as I listen to something that I like, I will type it down here, okay? So I need for my signing agents, either Ron or traditional loan signing agents who have more than 40 signings under their belt to raise their hands. More than 40 signings under their belt to raise their hands. Kimmy, let's start with you. Okay, what is the first? Well, not first, just give me one question that you for sure would ask during a client confirmation call.
So I have done the 40 signings, but are you referring to general notary or you want loan signings? Because I do a lot of signing companies.
Okay, that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought it up. You can do either, right? Because even in a general notary work signing, there's still going to be some of those same questions that you're going to have to ask. So give us one of those questions that you would ask in preparation for a general notary work signing.
What type of document do you need to have notarized?
Okay. What type of document do you need to have notarized? So if I like Kimmy's answer, I'm going to type it here. What type of document do you need notarized? Now, if I am working for a signing service and I just heard Kimmy's answer, I'm not going to type it as one of my 10, right? Because my revenue streams are 100% coming from loan signings, and I'm not going to need to waste one of my 10 SOP questions on what type of document do you need, right? However, if I'm a hybrid notary service and I'm going to be doing both general notary work and loan signings, I'm going to take Kimmy's question as one of my 10 because I'm going to want to make sure I remember that. So does everybody see how this is going to flow tonight? Okay. You only put the 10 questions, type the 10 questions in that matter to you. So let's look here and keep your eye on the chat because there's some good things happening in the chat. Melinda just asked, do you have a valid ID? I think that's going to be my first question. Okay. And then Aquanita, you're going to be next. What would be a question that you would ask?
I asked,
how many signers, because sometimes you won't know. If you're with the signing company, sometimes you'll know because it should be on there. But if you're doing just the general, I'll ask how many signers will be on this, and will they all be available at this time?
Very good question. And just so that you guys know, we're going to have another section right after this section that is the assigning party confirmation call. So Aquanetta's question about how many signers is a very good one. But for me, I'm going to make that one of my assigning parties confirmation calls questions, if that makes sense. The person who's giving me the signing, I want to ask that of them, because in my mind, my business model is about loan signings on this particular exercise, right? Okay, but that's a good question for you guys that are doing general notary work. You would type, hey, how many signers will be present? Again, you can put it here, or you can wait and put that question in the signing service confirmation call. Okay, number 3, Myra.
I would confirm the location and the time of the signing.
Okay, what is the location? But we wouldn't ask that to the signer, but how you confirm it would be how you could use your own verbiage, but basically confirm location and time. So in the real world, what that looks like is you're picking up the phone and you're calling the signer, and you say, Mr. Smith, I see that we have the signing scheduled at 123 ABC Lane in Houston, Texas. Is that correct? And I see that's on Monday at 7 o'clock Central Time. Does that sound correct to you? And that's how that would look when you're doing the signer confirmation call. Okay. So that would be number 3. Number 4, April, how would you add to this SOP list? What would be a question that you would ask to a signer?
The question I would ask if they need any witnesses.
Oh, very good. Will you need witnesses? Now let's talk about that one. Do your signers typically know whether or not they need witnesses?
No.
They don't. So do you want to waste one of your SOP questions on a signer confirmation call? Or would you rather use that question when we confirm with the signing service?
Signing service.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. I will use that one as a confirmation call with the signing service. Okay, so we're still at question number 4. We need to keep them coming. All right, so let's come back up to Aquanita. Oh, we got Lakita.
Okay, so what I would ask is, I think what I would do, I would confirm the fact that they have time and that we can't rush this somehow. Because some people will think that, oh, it's easy, you can do this, and it won't, not always it is.
Okay.
So I would say, do the time that you have, and I mean, I know you could possibly do that at the confirmation, but I would somehow bring that up.
Okay. Will there okay, so how does that look? I like to visualize and put things into practical practice. So what that looks like is your signing is probably going to take about 45 minutes. Will you have ample time to make that happen? Or do we need to reschedule it to a more agreeable time?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so that would look like this. Your signing should take no more than, I love it because you're setting the tone on the phone and the expectation even in advance of the appointment. Your signing should take no more than 45 minutes. Will you have ample time to complete the signing, or would, it won't let me do too much of a question there. Hold on, let me go in here and change it real quick. That was question number 4, I think it was. Yeah. I'm gonna change that to paragraph and give me some time, honey. I should have made them all paragraph.
Or will 45 minutes be an ample time for you or something like that?
That'll be easier. I didn't want to make these too long. Will 45 minutes will you have 45 minutes to give me for your signing? How about that?
There you go. That sounds even better.
Okay. There we go. Next, number 5, Lakita.
I'm sorry, I'm driving, but I always ask them, do they have any animals, and let them know that they need to be put away for the appointment.
Ooh, good one. Do you have animals? Or go straight into it. Will you be putting any pets away for the appointment? Now you guys are going to go back and tweak these to make them sound better, right? So you're typing them up the way that you would like to type them. And I made these short answers because I didn't want you to go too crazy with the paragraph typing and typing and typing, because you want your SOPs to be very succinct, okay?
So,
all right, question number 6. Melinda.
I put it in the chat, but I always ask if this is a gated community, and if it is, what is the gate code, and if I can park on the main street or the driveway.
Nice. Okay. I'm gonna throw all of those in question 6. Okay. Is this a gated community? You might get a no. If there's a gate code, you get that there. And then you just want to make sure, is it okay for me to park in the driveway, or would you prefer I park in front of the house?
So,
and that's if you're doing a traditional. If you're doing Ron, obviously, you would need to put this question on your SOPs.
yeah. So I broke it down because that was a lot. I don't So what I put on there, I'm like, is this a gated community with a code? Where may I park?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you know that you're doing primarily, subdivision type homes or whatever you might want to say, is it okay if I park in the driveway? Which 9 times out of 10, that probably won't even need to be a question that you ask, because there's going to be the expectation that you're going to pull in the driveway. So I would just keep that question focused on if it's a gated community, if there's a code.
Okay.
Kind of. All right, Melinda, good stuff. Jennifer, help us out with, who was that?
Let me reiterate that one. See, here in Florida, especially where I'm at, you have to be careful where you park at, because some communities tow your cars if you're on the main street. So that's why I asked that question, if it's allowed to be parked in the main street, because if not, I want to know if I can park in the driveway, or where can I park, because there are some areas in this where I'm at that they do tow you if you're parked in the street. And there's some places where you have to park on only one side of the street. So that's why I asked that question here.
That's a very good point. So you guys take heed to these little nuggets and tidbits and adopt, fill in the blanks here, but maybe make some notes on that notebook that you brought to class, to the call tonight as well. Okay. All right.
Can we go back to the witness?
Okay.
So I do a lot of general notary work. So, the young lady asked, is a witness required? It's not our job to be a lawyer or anything, so they should know if a witness is required. So I would, ask that question if I'm doing general notary work, which I do a lot of power of attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
Quick claims and the health, power of attorney, and all of that. So those do require witnesses. So I want to know, do you need to provide a witness, or do I need to provide a witness?
Very good. So that means on your SOP 10 questions, since you're doing a lot of general notary work, you need to make sure you draft a question in one of these 10 blanks to that effect.
Okay.
Okay. Because we're making this, everybody's doing a custom SOP manual for their specific notary service.
So then let me ask you the next question then, so are we doing a separate SOP, one for general notary and one for loan signings?
You can, remember, you can customize this after we get this standard one done. Okay. You can customize it to better suit your needs, right?
Okay.
So this is just designed to get you kind of started, if you will.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Monica,
Okay.
and I apologize because I was late, so this may have been discussed, so I do apologize. This SOP, can you utilize these same type of things for other types of businesses, not just notary?
Yes, girl. Oh my goodness. Yes, you can.
Okay.
And I've been struggling lately because I have been focusing all of my stuff on developing it for notaries, for notaries, for notaries, for notaries, for notaries. However, this can work in my brokerage. This can work on my farm. This can work if you sell soap. This can work wherever. You just have to adopt it according to the industry, right?
Perfect.
So,
Because
okay.
this is gonna help me with my tax business.
There we go.
Struggling.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good stuff. Okay, let's see here. Jennifer, help us out with a question number 7 for the signer confirmation.
So for when I'm doing remote online notarization, because I get a lot of documents from corporate people, they send me documents, but they don't know if the people on the other end will accept remote notarizations or not, or electronic signatures. So I tell them that it's their responsibility to go and ask that question and find out that information before we even get started.
Excellent. Now, Jennifer is talking to the remote online notaries on the call. So if you are not a remote online notary, you're not taking any notes, you're not typing anything down, because what she said does not apply to your SOPs. However, if you are doing remote online notary, you need to type a question on, you need to add that to your 10 questions. Will the accepting party, are electronic signatures acceptable? Is that correct?
That's correct.
You need to make sure you, Ron Notaries, incorporate into your SOPs when your client confirmation call is happening. You need to ask that signer, are electronic signatures acceptable? Okay, and then that will send them on a little, what is it called?
Scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt. You send them on the scavenger hunt. So they'll go call whoever they need to call, and you will tell them, shoot me an email and let me know, or shoot me a text and let me know. Excellent question, Jennifer. Okay, so that's for the Ron Notaries. So give me another one, Uranium. Have you run into some questions that you have been using to ask when you're confirming your calls?
Oops, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Urania, are you on? Can you come off of mute, or were you just raising your hand to let me know you're home? All right, Melinda's got one. I verify the name that will be present for the sign. Oh, very good. So in other words, Melinda, are you saying that you look at the documents or you get the order, and when you call that signer, you say, I see that John Stapleton is going to be signing today, or on the appointment. Are you John Stapleton? Melinda, help us clarify that.
Yes, and today was a good example. So when I call, I say, I give them my name and all that good stuff, and I said, we have an appointment for this day at this time. Like you said, you verify the address. I see that you, and then I say his name or her name and that person's name. It will be signing that day. Will you both be present? Yes. So today, she's like, oh, that name, that's not her name now. She got divorced and changed her name. I said, well, will you be able to still sign it? I said, I can't sign it. It has to match what's on her ID. And she's like, oh, so what should I do? I said, well, you need to contact the title company. Well, in this particular case, it was the lawyer, and let them know what's the situation and let them decide what they're going to do, and then let me know. And she called, and the lawyer changed it, and then they sent me back the new document with her name corrected on it.
Yep. I run into that a lot.
The name is right, because sometimes, there's typos.
Okay, so on question number 8, that's a good one. That's going to save you gas money and what we call dry runs. If you've never been on a 45-minute dry run somewhere, okay, you don't want to do that. A dry run is when you go someplace and you don't get the goal accomplished, okay? So to avoid, that's why you're doing these confirmation calls and coming up with these SOP questions, because what Melinda is saying is, people change their names, things happen, and whatever the case, and you need a way to prevent these dry runs from happening. So she's saying, when she gets that signer on the phone, she's confirming, hey, I see here that John and Samantha Smith are going to be signing. Is that the name of both parties? And somebody's going to say, oh, wait a minute. No, it's going to be not Samantha Smith. She got a divorce. Now she's going to be Samantha Taylor. Okay.
You hope so.
You hope. And then you
Hey,
contact,
Monica.
but hold on. But either way, you make that confirmation, because why you don't get in your car and drive, you call the signing agency up and say, before I go out there, I just want to let you know this is what happened. Go ahead.
I'm just letting you know I'm here. So we're pulling up that jurat verification form.
I'm sorry?
I said, I'm letting you know I'm here. And my question is, are we pulling up that jurat verification form?
Oh, no. You want to go into the chat, and I'm going to put the link here, putting it in there right now. And the link that was just put into the chat is the one you want to click on.
Oh, okay. Oh.
All right, Lynn, help us out with question number 9.
So I don't have a question like to contribute, but I do have like I have a Ron question to ask, because I am preparing to get my Ron certification and build a team here.
Okay.
Are witnesses required for Ron notarizations?
In some cases, yeah. See, it's not about the type of notarization, it's about the document being notarized. So your document is going to be the thing that tells you whether or not a witness is required.
Okay. All right. So when performing a Ron, depending on the document, I just want to make sure that because I've only done with GNW and loan signing, mobile work, not the Ron. So I want to be sure. I wanted to know that question, or the answer to that question.
That's a very good question. And it's always going to depend on the document. So if the document is like, I think a medical power of attorney, some of those require a witness. And it's a very good thing that you bring that up, Lynn, because even when you're doing remote online notarizations, you need to have a couple of Ron notaries that you know that can come on and be your witness with you if you need to provide those witnesses. And so you'll need to, in advance, go ahead and set things up like that so that you can call on people. Yes, Jennifer.
So another thing for my Ron notarizations I do, I ask them to make sure that they have all of the documents attached as one document, as the one document that's going to be notarized. Because sometimes there's a document and then it has like attachment A, B, C. And once that document is notarized, it's got that specific signature on it that you can't do anything to that document after it's been notarized. So everything needs to be all in there all at once.
So when you say all in there all at once, are you saying that the signer needs to have all documents in one PDF file?
Yes.
Okay. So we will say, do you have all documents attached as one PDF? And this is for who? This is for the Ron notaries on the call. If you're not doing Ron and you can't do Ron, you're not going to waste one of your SOP questions typing that in or writing that down. It doesn't apply. Okay. Claire's got another one for Ron. Or wait, I skipped that one. Notoria, can you verify proof of POA? I'm not sure I understand that one, Notoria. Can you come off of mute?
Yeah, you know how some people have power of attorney for maybe someone in the nursing home or hospital. I've had signings where I had to have them provide me proof of it because either their signer, like the last one that I had was at a hospital and she had a stroke. She was definitely, she was not saying yes to all my questions and things like that. She agreed that he was her power of attorney, but I also asked him for proof, which he did have. So I thought that would be a good question to ask if somebody was signing on behalf of somebody else. Can you provide?
Oh, okay. So that,
Yeah.
so the core of your question is kind of meaty, it kind of falls up under here. How many signers will be present, or not necessarily that one, there was another one. When you verify the names of the signers, that's where you're gonna catch that,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, so what are who will be signing? I see here, well, that's not necessarily true, Notary. Let me take that back, because what you're referring to is a general notary work signing. So in that case, you would want to frame that question something to the effect of, will there be anyone signing on behalf of anyone else? That's the simplest way to frame that, right? Will anyone be signing on behalf of anyone else? Now, if they give you an affirmative answer, then you have a whole little rabbit hole to go down, because now you got to make sure of a couple of different things, that person signing on behalf has ID and they will be present. You know, you'll still have to kind of ask another 2 or 3 follow-up questions if they answer yes to this question, right? If they say no, nobody will be signing on behalf of anyone, it's just my mom signing for herself, then you've got your question answered, okay? So very good. All right. Yes, Aquanita.
Okay, so, and that goes in vein of what was just asked, because I just had that this past Sunday. I always, because it was a will, it was changing of a will. I asked the person, do you know why I'm here? Because she was in an assisted living and the daughter made the appointment, and just asked the general, I guess, to make sure that they were competent, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
That would be a question, especially if it is a will or a power of attorney.
Right. So
Somehow,
as you develop, that's a very good point. So when you're doing the general notary work and you're confirming your appointments, you want to obviously ask what type of document it is. That was one of the questions that we first talked about. What type of document will be being signed? And if you're doing traditional loan signings, you're not going to put that as one of your SOPs, but if you're doing general notary work, you want to include that. What type of document will we be signing? Because that will allow for you to be able to ask further questions. If they do say it's a will, then you're going to know from your state what needs to happen from that point on, how many people need to be present. Then you're going to ask, hey, if these, since you're signing a will, there needs to be 2 other people present. Will they be present at the time of the signing? So again, this is just to get your juices flowing tonight, right? So as you're listening to this conversation and as you come back and you watch this replay, what you want to do is you want to take notes and supplement these 10 questions according to your specific business model. For those of you guys who are heavy on G&W, you're going to take some of those questions that you heard for G&W confirmation, you're going to include them here. For those that are Ron, you're going to do the same thing. Now, let me ask you this. Do you have to just have 10 questions?
No.
This is just to get your juices flowing tonight, okay? Tonight, when you hit submit, you will have a working document that you can copy and paste over to Microsoft Word and sit there and go crazy, okay? And edit it like you would never be editing anything else, okay? Adrian, did you have a question to add to our 10?
Yes, I wanted to add to the one the lady just said about the wills and trusts, the general notary work. Also here in Illinois, you have to confirm if they ask the person to leave the room and if they agree, and then the person is requesting a signing, or like if you're doing a will, they may ask the witness or the daughter or whoever called to leave the room and ask, do you know this person? 1, and do you agree with what they're requesting you to do?
Yeah.
Because one time they said, I don't know who this person was. And they just came in my house one day and said, I need to do this. And then I was like, okay, I can't do this document. See you later.
Right. So I'm going to show you guys an illustration of something. Okay. So tonight, this is going to be great because I'm going to show you guys what's going to end up happening. And I'm a visual person, so I'm going to draw this real quick. And I'm going to, and then I'm going to draw some little.
One other thing I could just add to the the general notary, power of attorney, all of that stuff in the nursing home. You can also ask if you feel things don't seem right, or that there's some type of doctor's statement. If they have proof of that, know that they are coherent, competent, they okay, they not on no medicine and all of that good stuff. But yeah, you can also, as a follow-up or a backup, to cover yourself, as for the doctor stuff. SOP, what?
Sorry. Will and power of attorney.
Very good.
So you have a decision
just like get a
box that
flow
says-
chart.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's like
so
a process flow.
let's hold on just a second. Because tonight we got to get to the next section, and y'all are getting deep down in the weeds with me right now, right? So tonight we're here, right? This is the standard SOPs, right? So what's going to happen is you're going to get that email, and it's going to have all the stuff we're talking about. It's just in the standard stuff. But this conversation is definitely showing us that if you're doing general notary work, what else do you need to develop?
Wills, power of attorney.
A wills SOP, standard of procedure. When you hear the word wills, you need another SOP of 10 questions just for the wills, okay? When you get a POA, depending on the POA, you may have a list of 10 questions just for the POA, right? So tonight's SOPs are going to lead us to the development of these other SOPs, okay? So you want to categorize your SOPs. If you hear the word will, let me go get my, there's my wills SOP list.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
Would it be bad, because I'm from the healthcare field, so it's always document. Would it be bad though, like if we're doing, I know Ron would be a little bit different, but in person, that we have them sign off on that? Because I've heard of people getting sued, even though they did the best thing possible. And I just don't want to give up any money or anything if I get sued because somebody said I did something wrong when I got the answers to their questions.
That is correct. So what I would do if it were me and I was out doing signings, I would have a checklist, and I would either have something that people would initially acknowledge. It's my business. And if I'm coming to do it, this is a part of what I do, right?
Okay.
So that's how I would operate, especially if I was operating in a lot of wills. I wouldn't necessarily do it on just a school permission slip or something like that. But on the highly litigious stuff, estates, adoptions, and this and this and this, I would. Antoinette.
Yes. Hi.
Hey.
I would ask the price. That's one of the things I would have on my SOP. That's what I asked the loan signing agents. I mean the signing services. That would be one of my questions.
Oh, good. So you just gave us
how much?
You gave us a segue into the signing service confirmation. This is just the signer. This is just
the signer. Now for the because I had a client that asked me, the price and everything. So that would probably one of the things. I don't know how I would put that, but I want to put something in there about pricing.
Okay. My standard fee for this signing is $45. Is that okay? That's how you can work it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I did mine.
Okay.
And that's a good thing to put in your SOP. Okay, because you need to. Your whole purpose of these confirmation questions is to save you time. All right, let's see here. Okay, so we're going to move on, folks. April, did you have anything else to add? Does anybody have anything else to add to this signer 10 questions?
Yes, I do, Monica.
Okay.
Do you need a translator or a Spanish speaker?
Good one. Will anyone be in need of a translator? Did y'all hear that? Will anyone be in need of a translator? That's a perfect question to ask the signer during the signer confirmation call. I would write that down.
I have a question regarding that one. Usually when you're getting the orders from the signing services, all that has been disclosed.
Not always.
Not always.
Not always, because I've had a few where I would call to confirm, and They're like, habla inglés. I'm like, habla español. I'm like, mm-mm. But I managed to let them know, it's like, I will call them and get somebody who spoke Spanish. And some of the signing services are getting better with that, with the notes, but I've had so many, and one poor girl, they put their daughter on the phone. This poor child, she tried. But between the both of us, I was like, we'll get somebody who speaks Spanish, because unfortunately I don't, not yet at least.
That's a good question. Okay, very good question to ask. Will anyone be in need of any translation services? And just a general question, you can put it in your SOPs as you guys are developing them. Is there anything else that I should know about coming to your signing? Is there anything else I should know? Go on mute, please. If there's anything else that I should know about the signing or that you need to let me know, that's just a general question you can ask. All right, let's move on. Let's hit next so we can get to the assigning party confirmation calls. Is everybody here on this screen? All right. Now, if you have worked with title companies, raise your hand. If you have worked with, signing services and or title companies, raise your hand. We're going to go through and come up with 10 questions for the assigning party, be it a direct signing or be it through a signing service. One of the questions that was already brought up, what is the fee for the signing? Usually that's already been communicated electronically before you accept it, but in the event that this is not a signing service and it's a direct call, then you ask that question. Now, if that's not you, guess what? Don't type it right here, okay? Don't worry about adding it. Save your question for something else. Another question that you want to ask the signing service is, when will the documents be available? Okay. When will the documents be available, or are the documents available? Because if they say the documents won't be available for a couple of days and the appointment is in a couple of days, and you have an SOP for that we're going to be talking about here in a minute, right? All of these are going to make you operate like a well-oiled machine. You're going to seem like you are on top of everything because you've thought of everything in advance. So let's get some questions for the signing service. When will the documents be available? Anybody else? 5 participants. Let me come up the screen here. Let's see who we got. Adrian, what would be a question that you would ask the signing party, the party that's giving you the signing? Oh,
I haven't done no, sorry, no.
Oh, okay, that's okay. Myra. Oh, you're on mute.
Is there anything that I need to know about this lender, such as Providence, where you need to do all letter size paper?
Awesome. Is there anything I need to know about this lender? Awesome. Good one. Urania, what would you ask the title company and confirm when you call them to confirm, or your direct client when you call to confirm the signing?
That I would call, okay. Are you talking about call the title company?
Right. So when you're doing the signings for the signing service and or a title company direct, what is a question that you would ask them when you're confirming the appointment?
What type of document is it?
Okay. What type of document is it? Now, with the signing services, and that still would be good if you're doing direct, because you don't really know, but usually if you're doing title company direct or signing service direct, we all know those are loan documents, right? So do we
like sales, like if it's a sales, refinance, HELOC or something like that?
Gotcha. What type of loan packet is this? What type of document? If it's a direct general notary work, you say what type of document is this? But if you say it was an attorney that was giving you the signing, you would ask them that way. However, if it's a signing service or if it's a title company, you know it's a loan document, you're not going to ask what type of document it is. You're going to ask, what type of loan signing is this? This is a seller it's the buyer packet, whatever the case. And that's assuming you haven't gotten that in an email, because you don't want to waste your questions on things that you could have gleaned from a communication that you've already received, right?
Right.
Kimmy, give me a question that you would ask the person assigning you the signing.
In my case, because I'm in the state of Georgia, I need to know where the property is when they call me direct, because I have a lot of stipulations. So I need to know where's the property of what state.
Okay, what state is the property located in? And this is for who? This is for people who are in Georgia doing loan signings. So are you necessarily going to type this question in right now? No, you're not. That may not apply to you. But if you're in the state of Georgia and you're doing loan signings, then it's going to be important for you to know what state the property is located in. Just like I gave at the beginning of this call, you're going to have to go customize this according to your business model. Sandra, let's get a question from you.
You know, I would ask for the loan if there's any proceeds, any proceeds or money that's going to need to be picked up or returned with the loan documents.
Very good. Will I be transferring will I be delivering any loan proceeds?
And I'll also, when I confirm with the signer, I will ask them, would they have the proceeds ready?
Ooh, very good. So you see how these are going to develop. You start off with 10, and then you're going to get this. You're going to hit the submit button tonight, but you're going to take some of these notes and you're going to add to and customize each of these sets of questions. So those are very good ones, Sandra. Okay, April.
Which colored ink should we use, black or blue?
Good one. Which color ink should be used, black or blue?
And I have another one, Monica, if they want scan backs or not.
Do you want scan backs? Keep them coming. Good job.
With
Nikita.
Sorry.
If they need to be shipped same day or next day, it's next day, okay?
Can you do 2 day? Is 2 day okay? Is 2 day okay? Or is next day preferred? Love it. Angela.
Sometimes there are special stipulations, and so I would ask, is the customer aware of the special stipulations in the loan signing?
Okay. Are there any special stipulations involved?
And is the customer aware?
Okay. Is the customer, that's a follow-up question. I don't know if it'll fit in here.
Okay.
Is the signer aware? So it will fit in there. So if you like that question and you want it in your SOPs, if you type it like I just typed it, it should fit all in. Are there any special stipulations involved? And is the signer aware? All right. Angela. Let's go back up to Myra.
I'm at a loss right now. I can't think of anything.
Okay, that's okay. Urania, your hand's still up. Do you have another one for us?
Will this be FedEx or UPS ship?
Okay. Will, good one. This be a FedEx or UPS? All right.
Miss Monica.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there somebody trying to chime in?
This is Narisa. I was trying to get some suggestions on some run stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
I was trying to see if anybody had any run stuff. I'm looking for suggestions to put on my SOP.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I see what you're saying. We'll see if we can pull some out here in a minute for you, Narisa. April. I'm sorry, Curtis. I was going to Curtis next. Curtis.
Has the signer received the documents?
Has the signer
Received like
their document copies? Yes. Good job. I like that one. Very good. Kimmy,
I don't know
Sorry.
that I heard it, but did anyone mention how many sets of documents need to be printed?
That's what I wanted to ask.
very good. How many sets of documents need to be printed? I would add that one. These are good ones, guys. How many sets of documents need to be printed? I don't have any more room on mine.
So can you add that with the scan back?
Let's see here. Where's scan backs?
And
You could
Monica,
add it to
if
question
I
6.
may- Oh, I was gonna say, I'm sorry. And while we're on that point, Monica, if I may, also sometimes you need to know how many need to be executed. Because on loan modifications, sometimes they require 2 sets to be done or 3 executed.
So how many docs will need to be executed? Okay. So you guys, again, everybody's doing their own. So my screen doesn't need to have everything, right? So you're taking notes. You're filling in these 10 questions. You're using the questions that you like that fit your business, and you're making notes on the ones that you might use, but you're not sure of, right? All right.
I just thought of one. Is this an investment property? Because if they're refinancing an investment property, there's no right to cancel on it.
Right.
That is correct. Is this an investment property, you guys? I would write that down if you're doing a lot of title or signing service. That would be one of my 10 or 12 SOPs or 15, however they end up being.
Do you want a copy of the ID? Because some people say, yeah, some people don't require us to get a copy, and some signings do.
Now, this brings up a very good point. Now, some of these things are going to be answered in what? The signing instructions, right? So some of this is going to be answered in the signing instructions, but not all. So take down these questions with the understanding that once you get that packet, some of these, once you go down your checklist, because you're going to type these up into a nice, pretty checklist in Canva, and you're going to print them out, and you're going to get you a little 1-inch binder, and you're going to put it in your notary bag. And when you go out to do the signing, you're going to pull out your checklist, okay? And you're going to do the checklist. I'm sorry, when you get ready to confirm the signing, you're going to have that checklist by the phone. And you're going to go down, check 1, check 2. You're going to put the name of the signing at the top, the address and the date. And this checklist is going to be the body of the page. And you're not going to miss a beat because everything is going to be right there for you to be able to cover, right? So this is at the time of confirmation. So these are all very, 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 very good. But now we're about to go on to the next section. Are y'all ready? Melinda, did you have something you wanted to add to this signing, to this confirmations?
Yeah, I always ask for if it's not including the order, who's the lender? Just in case people call.
Lender contact information. What is the lender contact information? That's a very good one.
Monica, I have something else.
Okay.
April. Sometimes some of the loan agencies, like Coast to Coast or whatever, they prefer the box instead of the plastic envelopes.
Nice. Do you have a preference on what type of package to send the docs back in? Do you have a preference on the type of package I use to send your docs back? It's a great one. Kimmy, did you have another one before we move on? All right, let's go to the next section. Everybody hit next. And let's go to the appointment confirmation. Once the appointment has been confirmed, there should be a standard procedure used by your notary service to document the results of the calls with the respective parties. Answer the questions below to help determine what that procedure will look like for your notary service. Okay, first question. My notary service will confirm the signer confirmation call in the following manner. I will, by telephone only, once the call is complete, I will take no further confirmation steps. So basically, you're saying that once I do that confirmation call, I'm done. That's all the confirmation I need. If that's you, check that box. However, if you're going to confirm by a text message what you just did on the phone, then you check that box. However, if you're going to do an email, you check that box. Whatever your standard operating procedure is, this is no right or wrong. This is how you plan on operating your business and how you expect your team that you're going to bring on is going to be expected to operate. Maybe you will do both by text and by email. So whatever one you want to select, go ahead and select that now, and let's go to the next question. My notary service will confirm the signing party confirmation call in the following manner. So the first one was you talking with the signer, how you're going to cover your ass, okay, with that confirmation. The second is if it's a title company or a signing service or an attorney or someone else, how are you going to, once you hang up that phone with them, how are you going to cover your ass, okay?
Email.
Are you going to do it by telephone only and just that be it? Or are you going to do text, email, or both? Choose one and hit next. Okay, Claire saying for Ron's is by email through the platform. So you just hit by email if that's the case for you and click next. All right, next, calendaring. Okay, each notary service needs a standard operating procedure when it comes to placing this signing on the calendar for your office. Answer the questions below to begin development of that standard for your notary service. Question, will you adopt a calendar system for all signing appointments? Are you using iCloud? Are you using Gmail? Are you using, what are you using? The question is, are you going to adopt a calendar system? Some of you guys are working for signing services that already have one. That's all well and good, but you're not always just going to be working for them if you're going to grow your business. April, did you have your hand up?
No.
Oh, okay. So
can you scroll back down for me to get so I can get the top part of that?
Sure. This part here.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you not have access to this?
I do, but I'm typing it already in a Word document. I'm typing everything in a Word document.
Oh, well, you're going to get all of this. You can, once you hit submit, all of this typing is going to be sent to your email. So you might be doing double work.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's keep going. Will you adopt a calendar system for all signing appointments? Yes or no? Okay. Will the calendar system be electronic or physical? Choose one. Okay. Some of you guys are old school. And you might have a physical calendar that you keep with you in addition to your electronic calendar. We're developing your business's standards. What will they be? No right or wrong answer, okay? Next, what calendar systems will you be using? So type in here, I'm going to be using Google Calendar. Or I'm going to be using BankServe's calendar. Or I'm going to be using Notary Gadgets calendar or whatever. You need a calendaring system. You need to identify it here for your SOPs. Next, when will you place the signing on the calendar? After the client confirmation call, after the assigning party confirmation call, or after both the signer confirmation call and the assigning party confirmation call is complete. Or I'll get to it as soon as I can. I'll probably be too busy to do it right away. No right or wrong answer, but choose the one that's best for you. Okay, next, who is responsible for placing that signing on the calendar? Remember, we're training the trainers here at Notary Nerds University. You're doing the signings right now, but I'm preparing you to develop a team. So right now, it may be the person who completed, I'm sorry, it may be you, but in the future, you need to make sure you understand who it's gonna be. Is it gonna be the person who completed the signer confirmation call? Is it the person who completed the assigning party confirmation call? Or is it the person who completed both the assigning party and the signer confirmation call? What has to happen in your office before that appointment gets on the calendar? Yes, Jennifer. You have to come off.
Sorry, I'm sitting here going, oops. No, I was just going to give some answers to the next question.
Oh, okay. How will you determine the length of the signing appointment on your calendar?
Yeah, so if you're having to drive out to their house, you need to figure out the distance and estimate time and and traffic and stuff like that to add on to the amount of time for the signing appointment.
Excellent, excellent. So with this, what we want to do, and this is especially for your RON loan signings, your traditional loan signings, you guys already know how long a refi should take. You already know how long a reverse mortgage should take. You already have an idea of the time frame for some of these appointments. That's the time frame I'm referring to in this particular question, right? So if it's an affidavit, it should take you how long? If it's a will, it should take you how long? If it's a refi, it should take you how long, right? But what Jennifer is referring to is going to fall nicely into these next two questions. How will you calculate drive time to the signing? And then how much time will you leave between appointments as a buffer? This does not include any driving time. So we've got three components. We have got the actual appointment time that you need to determine how you're going to assign that. Okay. You might say, I'm going to give 45 minutes for every loan signing appointment and 2 hours for every reverse. Okay, whatever. No wrong or right answer, but those of you who have already been doing this can come up with something right here, type it in, and then let that be your beginning of your SOP. Now, what Jennifer was talking about is the time it's going to take you to get from where you are to the signing. How are you going to calculate that? Are you going to use a mapping software to determine the miles? And are you going to do that from your home to the signing? Or are you going to use the mapping software to determine the number of miles from the signing preceding it on the calendar? You're probably going to check both. Because depending on when you get the appointment, depending on what your calendar already has on it, you're not going to calculate drive time from home if you're already out doing a signing, right? So you just need to be aware of what the procedure, all we're doing today is establishing your operating procedure. What will you do? I'm going to use a mapping software, and I'm either going to calculate that drive time from home, or if I'm already got stuff on my calendar, I'm going to calculate it from the appointment calendar that we've already got confirmed, right? How much time will you leave between appointments after a buffer? This does not include driving time. I'm going to add 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Click one, no right or wrong answer. Any suggestions on that?
Here in Texas, 20.
So 20-minute buffer. So you're going to have a 45-minute signing appointment. You're going to have a 20-minute buffer. So on your calendar, when you schedule a refi, you have just taken up 65 minutes. So you know, and your assistant knows, based on y'all standard procedures, not to schedule that next appointment any sooner than 66 minutes from the time that first signing began.
Yep.
You see how this is all starting to come together operationally, okay? The establishment of an operating procedure, standard operating procedure, is going to make your calendar run smoothly by you considering these things like buffer time. Wow, Babita said 30 to 45 minutes of buffer time if you're in Georgia. Valerie says 20 minutes, and then Melinda says, do you recommend a mapping software? I'm not mad at Notary Gadget for this purpose, Melinda. I'm not mad at Notary Gadget for this. I also use Google Maps.
Yep, I do. I use Google Maps because it lets you put all your, like I did yesterday, I did my whole round trip. Like, okay, I go here, then I go here, and that helped. Oh God bless you.
Yeah, Google Maps will let you actually put several in an order. And when I'm showing property, or when I was showing property back in the day when I would show a lot of buyers and they wanted to see 7 or 8 properties, I would use Google Maps. I would start at my house and I would order the properties in the order that I'm going in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that when I come home and I'm dropping, it's all got to be organized. The better you get at this, the smoother your business will run, and the sooner you'll be able to bring on team members. Okay, let's hit next. Let's keep it going. Document preparation. While each signing packet will differ, the notary service needs a standard approach to preparing the documents in advance of each signing. Use the questions below to help develop that standard procedure for your notary service. Will you use a specific email address to receive signing orders, folks?
Yes.
Hopefully it is orders at mynotarybusiness.com. Okay, hopefully. Second question. Oh, Myra says Rand McNally is the bomb when it comes to scheduling, to doing the mapping. So y'all check that out. Second question, what will your first step be after printing the documents? Will you read the signing instructions? Will you tag the documents? Will you verify that the number of pages that you printed matches the number of pages in the document?
That's what I do.
If your printer just said it printed out 243 pages and that PDF says there's 256 pages, then you have a problem, right? Or will you reorganize the documents in the custom signing order that you prefer? Cynthia, go ahead and chime in.
I'm sorry, I did that in error.
Okay.
But I will probably leave them in the order that they will receive, because most signing services ask you to leave them in the order, but sometimes I do put them in the order of funding. So it depends.
So your first step after you print the documents, you leave them in the order that they're already in, but which one of these steps would you take first?
Wait, I can't see, hold on. Oh, I will definitely read the signing instructions first.
Okay. So your standard operating procedure would be to print the documents, go over the instructions. Good job.
Yep.
Melinda, what would your first step be after printing the documents?
Yeah, I read the signing instructions before printing the documents.
So what would your first step be after printing the documents?
Verify the number of pages printed.
No problem. You see
But then
how
it's funny, 'cause the second step, I'm like, what do I do now?
Right. So after you verify the number of pages that's been printed for your, if you do that for your first step, and remember guys, there's no right or wrong. Everyone's business is different. The whole goal is to come up with a standard for your business that works for your business. So in Cynthia's case, even though the signing instructions would be available for me to read, I'm kind of on the same page with Cynthia. I want to print everything out. Then once those instructions are physically in front of me, I'm going to sit and read them, because now I have a physical piece of paper in front of me and I'm going to mark it up. I'm going to highlight, because that would just be me. So my first step would be to verify that the number of pages printed matches. And then my second step would be, I would read the signing instructions. I got to get my highlighter out. Yours might be different, right? But either way it goes, like Melinda said, if you already have read the document, the signing instructions before you print them, then your first step is going to be verifying the number of pages, and then you might do something next for your second step. So April, what would your second? What would your second? Give me your order. These all are the same four. Just give me your order. What would you do first, second, and third, and fourth?
I would verify the number of pages.
Okay. And second?
And then reading and signing instructions.
And third?
Tagging the documents.
Okay, and fourth?
And reorganize. I would keep them in the same order.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys see how this works? I put the same steps a part of each of these four questions, right? So these are just joggers to help you develop your SOPs. You can go and customize them according to your business model once you get this submitted, because it's going to send you a copy of everything. All right, so let's hit next. The actual appointment is here. We've confirmed with the signer. We've confirmed with the person who gave us the signing. We've followed up. We've got a process for that now. We've got a process for what the documents, once we get the documents, once we print, we got a process for all that. Now we're at the appointment. Conduct each signing appointment with a standard set of operating procedures to ensure that your appointment is run efficiently, okay? This is gonna apply to both your traditional mobile notaries as well as your RON. Question 1, how soon before your signing will you arrive at that appointment? That means if you're Ron, how soon before the appointment will you get to that computer? And that means if you're a mobile notary, when will you be in that driveway?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Here are your options. Choose one. I will be present exactly at the appointment time. I will be present 5 minutes prior to the appointment time, or I will be present 10 minutes. What is your standard operating procedure for your business? Yes, April. How early would you get ready for an appointment? Oh, she took her hand down on me. Okay, Jennifer.
No, I'm just moving on to the next one for you.
Okay, let's get to it. What will you say each signing to set expectations about the signing with the signer? You take it away, Jennifer.
So since I keep focusing on remote online notarizations, for Virginia, I tell them that all electronic remote online notarizations in the Commonwealth of Virginia are recorded per the Code of Virginia, and I tell them which code.
Awesome. That's a great standard operating procedure. And let me just pause real quick so you guys can understand how powerful this is.
And one other thing, and actually will send that in my email to them when I'm asking them about like who, do they accept remote electronic notarizations? Do they accept, make sure all the attachments are attached to it? But I also put in that email so that they're not taken aback by it when I state it during the notarization, that it has to be recorded per Virginia guidelines.
So what I'm hearing you say is you used this twice in your standard operating procedure. Once when you're confirming it with the client during your client confirmation call, and again when you're setting the expectation. So if you were ever pulled into court and you were questioned and they said, you know what? She never told me this is going to be recorded. Then you will be able to pull out your standard operating procedure manual that has the date and time of that signing on it. And it has here where you have checked it off. And not only that, if Professor Closen is there and he sees that you've done that consistently with every signing that you've done, these checklists, these SOP checklists, it's gonna look good for you. That it's probably not the notary's fault. And it probably is the signer, because this notary has what? A body of evidence reflective from her stack of her checklist, her SOPs that she does on every single signing. Just like McDonald's puts the 2 pickles and the squirt of mustard and the squirt of ketchup on every cheeseburger. The same way every time. Nobody will be able to say what you didn't tell them or what you didn't do, because why? You have a physical document that you develop for your business that you employ and that your independent contractors employ when doing signings for your notary service. Great, great, great job. Okay, so Kimmy, you want to take the next one?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I wanted to talk about setting the expectation.
Okay, what would you say?
Yes, ma'am. If I'm doing a loan signing, I set the expectation with my signers, my role, that I am there as the notary to identify them and to assist with the signing of their documents, that I'm not there to go over every single detail with them.
Gotcha. So you have a spiel, okay? And what you want to do here is type that spiel out so that when you hit submit, it's going to be in your email. And you can develop it even further. All right, Meredith. Good job, Kimmy. Meredith, what do you got for us?
Okay. Basically what the young lady just said, same thing, just let them know the little spiel. I am not an attorney. I cannot give you any legal advice. I do require that everyone have valid ID, upon my arrival. And that I will, some of the documents that need to be notarized, there is an oath that's required. I would have to give you that. So, to expect that either, you swear or you affirm, whatever. So I do that every single time, whether it's a general notary or loan signings.
Very good. And this is at the appointment. Either you're Ron or you're sitting at your computer and you're making this spiel, or you're at the table and you're gonna say this thing, okay? And this thing is, you're setting the expectation. I am your notary. I do not know the numbers. I do not know the answers. All I am here to do is to witness your signing. If we have any questions, we have a number that we can call. Are you ready to get started? That's what I'm talking about. You need something that you say, this is at the signing. We've already done the client confirmation calls. We've already done the other stuff. You are physically in front of that signer now. What do you say to them to let them know you're not going to be there all day? Okay? That's what you want to type right here. Okay? What will you say and do when the signer has a question about the documents? Type it out. I will tell the signer ... and I will have them call the ... However you want to word that. Melinda, yes.
So the ones that I have a second copy, which usually the majority, 95% of them is, I normally tell them right before we start that I will be leaving them. I ask them first if they received a copy via email from the lender or title company, yay or nay. Then I tell them, I said, well, I have it, the exact second copies for them that they can overview after we finish the signing. And if they have any questions, concerns, they have that 3-day right to cancel. They contact the lender with any questions they may have. Right now, we're just going to sign all the documents that need to be signed and notarized that needs to be notarized. Try to stop them from reading everything. And occasionally you might have 1 or 2 that skim through it, but for the majority of them, they end up reading it afterwards.
I love it. This question specifically, guys, is to set the expectation at the appointment that you are not going to be playing around with them all day. Here's your second set of documents. You can look at this after I leave. If you have any questions, I'll make sure I direct them to the title company. Are you ready to get started? When you have something that you say that's a boilerplate spiel, and you say it every single time as soon as you sit your derriere down on the seat, before let everybody know, that put them on notice, the show is started. Okay? That's what this statement is. That's what you want to type right here in this question. What will you say each signing to set expectations about the signing? You give your little 3 or 4 sentence spiel, and that's what you say every single time. And that's going to make your signings even more efficient than before, because you now have the same thing that you say every time, and you don't stop and take a breath. You get right into it. That sets the tone for the appointment, right? What will you say and do when the signer has questions about the documents? We just talked about that. Meredith, did you want to chime in on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Generally, when they ask questions about the document, if it's something that I will point it out to them. If it's something that they can answer for themselves, you just point it out. Otherwise, I ask them to make a list of questions so we can move things along, so we don't stop here and call the loan officer every single time. So make a list of questions at the end, and then you can call your loan officer or whomever the contact person is to get those questions answered tonight, if you choose. Otherwise, you can make the list of questions and you can call them after if you're okay with moving forward.
Excellent. So the answer that you're going to type in that section to that question is, I will point out the answers to their questions when possible. I'm going to ask them to make a list for the rest of the questions that they may have. Perfect SOP. Love it. Myra, would you like to chime in on that?
Yes, I have a couple of responses here. It depends on the situation. Most times people ask me, is this a good interest rate or blah, 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 whatever. And my response is, I am not familiar with your transaction, but we can contact your loan officer or title for answers. You do have a 3-day right to cancel, which you can utilize should you need to. And I will notate your questions and send it back along with your documents to your lender. As we go through the documents, I can point out the information you're asking about within your documents.
Love it. And it kind of ties in a little bit of what Meredith was saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love that. But what I really love what I heard was it sounded boilerplate. If you guys don't know what a boilerplate is, a boilerplate phrase is just a phrase that you say the same way every single time, no matter what, right?
I've said it 5,000 times.
It sounded like it, okay? That's what you want. You want a boiler. When I give you these questions here, it's for you to develop a succinct boilerplate phrase that you say the same way, McDonald's, every single time. It'll make you seem robotic and like this is corporate and you do this all the time. And they will hear the boilerplateness and they will say, oh, okay, I better comply and just listen, okay? So very, very good. Next, what will you say and do when the signer is rude? Melinda or Jennifer, one of you guys help us out with this one. What is your standard operating procedure if the signer comes in and he is or she is rude, they've been drinking, they're on their second shot of whiskey, they had a bad day, you walk in to do their HELOC and they are just rude to you, what is your standard operating procedure? Write that there. Okay, next, what will you say when when you get a reader? Jennifer, you want to chime in on that one?
Yes, because I'm the reader. I will sit and read, but it's because I'm a paralegal also. So that's my problem.
Gotcha.
So, in my instance, I'll just let them read it and while you continue going on and signing the other documents. Because if there's two people signing, a lot of times, like one person only needs to sign versus the other. And so that other person can still keep things getting signed while the other person, like me, would be sitting there just kind of perusing through the document.
Gotcha. So your standard operating procedure would be when you do get a reader, you will allow them to do what they need to do, read whatever they need to read. But meanwhile, you're going to still be maintaining productivity in the signing. And if that looks like you working the other signer, getting their signature squared away, then that's what that means. If that's tiddling in your journal, that's what that means. But basically, you're going to continue productivity while they're reading. You're not going to just sit there and watch them read. That's your standard operating procedure, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Lavonia is asking, can they not read before the appointment? Sometimes they don't have the documents in time to be able to do it. And even if they did, if there's changes or whatever, and they got your documents are the freshest set, they're probably going to want to check. So you're going to have a standard operating procedure for how to deal with that.
Can I input something here?
Yes.
When I see I have a reader, I do stack my documents. So the CD's on top, the note, the mortgage, that type of thing that we go through first payment letter. If I see I have a reader, I will do the CD, I'll do the note, I give them the mortgage, and usually by that time they're tired of reading.
Gotcha. Give them
so that's a little tactic that I use.
Right. Okay. Very good. Moving on to the next one. When a rescission period is involved, how will you explain it to the signer? What is your standard boilerplate way that you and your team are going to explain rescission period? Anybody want to give me one? The standard way you're going to do it every single time, just like McDonald's makes its cheeseburgers. How are you going to explain the rescission period? Anybody want to give a go at it?
I will.
All right, no problem. Just type it in there. All right. The rescission period is your 3-day period for you to cancel your loan. If you have any questions during that time, contact your lender.
Yeah.
And point out the date of the rescission, the last date that they can cancel the loan.
So you would say I'm spelling this wrong, I think. Your rescission period ends on blank. You can review, you can cancel your loan before this date. Call your lender for questions. Something like that, right? You need to
Yeah,
have, go ahead.
hope you have that, the calendar with you.
And even in the body of the notice of right to cancel, the date, the date of rescission is in there. It shows the closing date and then the date that they have to cancel by midnight.
Sweet. So what we're doing tonight is coming up with how you're going to say that. And you want to, I just typed it and now it's gone. You want to say it the same way every single time, right? So this is the point of this line here. You're going to type it out how you would say it every single time. You can cancel
3-day period.
your loan by this date. If you have questions, contact your lender. Something to that effect, okay? But you need to type it in the way you would talk. And that's the thing that you need to say every time. And when you hire your first independent contractor, they're gonna say it that way too, okay? This is why the standard operating procedure development is so very critical to a small business owner. Next question, what will you do if you are unable to make a copy of the signer's ID at the time of the signing? What is your standard procedure for that when that happens? You confirm, they said they were gonna have their ID and they were gonna have a copy, but when you got there, their toner was out, they didn't have any paper, the dog peed on the brother, whatever. What are you gonna do? What is your standard operating procedure when you can't get a copy of that ID at the signing? Myra.
My standard thing is, we really need to send a copy of your ID back. I will make a notation that it was not available, and please send the ID tomorrow to title.
So your standard operating procedure would be to have the client, the signer, I will have the signer forward a copy to title post closing and advise title accordingly. That's your SOP.
Yes.
Aquanita, what is your SOP for that?
I will take a picture of their identification with my phone, advising why I'm doing this and the fact that after I print it, it gets destroyed.
Okay, I would caution you on that, especially with the military, right?
I know you can't take pictures of the military.
Right. And even when you do take a picture of somebody's ID on your phone, and even if you do destroy it, what if some hacker hacks your phone, deleted pictures, right? What if some hacker,
VPN.
when you start putting people's personal information on your phone, even if it's a 10-second, as a standard operating procedure, do you want your team out taking pictures of people's IDs when they're in the field? Because what if they forget? So if you've got that as a standard operating procedure that we take a picture when the ID didn't get copied, then what you run the risk of is your team member remembering to delete and your team member's phone being secure like yours, which it may or may not be. So as a
suggestion.
Yes.
This is Adrienne. What I would recommend my standard operating procedure would be is that they need to have a business phone. And just like the Allstate agents, they have that phone encrypted. Because with an encrypted phone number, with an encrypted phone, the hacker cannot access it. Nobody can access it. So, I'm a techie, so encrypt it. Get a second phone and have that phone encrypted.
So your standard operating procedure would be that you would have a separate encrypted phone in your notary bag for that type of specific instance.
Yeah, that's what I do
your
now.
business number, all my phones are encrypted, even my personal one. So yeah, have your phone encrypted. Okay. So yeah.
There's a software called Authenticator, and you could use that as well to encrypt, put a code on your phone for like different apps that like on some of your notary apps, as well as your text message and stuff. It's called Authenticator.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
Monica, this is Meredith.
Mhm.
I would put that in the hands of the title company or mortgage company. I'm calling them and say, hey, they do not have an ID. Please advise.
That's it. You don't want to put you do not want to have a standard operating procedure that leaves you open to liability. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it at that. And if you want to go and get all this extra stuff and encrypt for that one-off, that's fine. Do that. If you feel comfortable taking pictures of people's stuff with that, you're just taking on liability that you don't really need. And I would also advise that you get a little bit more E&O. I wouldn't run around with just $25,000 worth of E&O. If your standard procedure is, when I arrive at that signing, that signer's ID was not able to be copied, if I take a picture of it real quick, right, and I delete it, and I think it's deleted, but come to find out it went to the cloud, but the cloud servers got hacked, and now this person's ID is a part of it.
You're true, you're right.
You just have to figure out if it's worth it in your standard procedures. If it is, okay, no right or wrong. Next, what will you do if it is determined, Desiree, that the signer's ID isn't valid?
Okay, let me speak to taking a picture of the signer's ID. Personally, I would rather the signer take a picture on their phone of their ID and email it to the lender.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Desiree, that's what I do. Yes, ma'am.
And that way it takes the,
yes, ma'am.
Exactly. You take the ownership off of you and any excuse that anybody, because most people have a cell phone and they can take it on their cell phone and they can email it to title. And that's it.
And it works seamlessly. Yep.
Exactly.
Right.
Question now, as far as that goes.
Go ahead, Melinda.
So you as a notary in your state, are you guys not required to have a copy of their ID for the notarization?
Yeah, the scenario is you get there, you confirm that they would have a valid ID on the phone. You get there and you also confirmed on the phone that they were going to make a copy for you. But when you get there, for whatever reason, that didn't happen, right? They didn't get to make the copy. The printer's broken. They thought they were going to be able to make the copy for you, but they didn't. So you need a standard operating procedure for that time when you get to the signing and the signer does not have a copy of their ID.
Correct, but I'm saying you as the notary in your state, do you not have to have a copy of their ID on file for with your journal?
No.
Not in Illinois.
Not necessarily. No. I find in most cases it's the signing agency that may request, and it's usually a one-off. The signing company will request a copy of, they'll put that in the signing instructions. Please take a copy of the client's or the customer's ID. So in that case, I will, when I talk to confirm with the signers, I will ask them to please make a copy. If I get to the signing and they give an excuse that something happened and they couldn't make a copy, okay, take a picture on your phone and you email it to title because it was requested for title. That way the liability is off of me. As a notary, but it's not required in my state to have a copy of the signer's ID. I just want to get that fingerprint in my notary journal.
And in Tennessee, we can take the fingerprint. And the thing about the fingerprint is it's biometric data, and the laws are kind of dynamic about saving and storing people's biometric data now. So once I learned about that, I made the determination to not further request the thumbprint. I do have thumbprints in my journal now, but I'm moving forward, will not request it. And in Tennessee, people don't have to give it if they know the law, right?
Right.
So, okay, let's go to the next one. What will you do if it's determined that the signer's ID is valid? They said it was on the phone. You get there and you realize that it doesn't meet your state's guidelines when it comes to expiration or whatever the case. and it's not a valid ID. What is your standard operating procedure when that happens? Type that in there. Anybody want to chime in on that? Urania. Jennifer.
So for Ron's, what I have them do, which is also part of that beginning email that I send out with my instructions, is I tell them that I need them to send me a copy of their ID to email to me so that I have it in my file. And then when we do the remote online notarizations, I take a picture. Of course, they show their ID. They show their ID, and I tell them, you know, you have to show the front, and I take a picture of it, and I tell them to turn it around, and then I take a picture of the back side of it.
And you do that at the beginning during your client confirmation. So you won't run into that situation on your runs because you do that verification during the appointment confirmation. Is that what I'm hearing?
So I do the verification when I send out the original email, you know, to make sure that everything, you know, is straight. And then when we are remotely in, you know, I can see them, they can see me. Then when I'm going through, you know, my spiel, I introduce myself and it's all being recorded. I ask them to hold up a picture of their ID, and I take a picture of it because it's being recorded. It's part of that loop that's going on during that time frame.
That's true, Jennifer. That's pretty much the standard for a lot of our RON signings, is that they have to, you send them a link to do their, they call it credential analysis. So they take a picture of the front and back of their ID or their passport, whatever the case may be. But that's a standard operating procedure for RON. But when you're doing traditional, sometimes the signing companies will ask you to take a picture of the client's ID. So it will vary depending on what type of signing you're doing.
Yes.
So that's very good points, you guys. And when you run into that situation, just have typed in here what you will do, right? If you're at the signing and that signer's ID is valid, type here what you will do. We have Dorothy saying that she's going to request another form of ID if they don't have one, if they're going to cancel or delay the signing. That is her SOP for that instance. What is your SOP for that instance, Meredith?
One quick thing though, one thing though with COVID and everything, and with DMVs being closed and stuff like that, a lot of people's IDs have expired and things like that. So then you've had to be on top of things to know like the state laws, and that also going back to ask for another form of identification.
Very good. Yes, it's up to the notary. Even though you have this SOP situation, you still have to be up to date on your state's executive orders when it comes to accepting expired IDs. That you're going to have to stay up to date on that. It's a very good point. Meredith, did you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I concur. That's what I was gonna say, is I asked for another form of ID, and as who was that, Myra stated that yeah, you have to be up on the law, so you know that, you know, there was an extension. There's a couple of extensions, so you know, if it's been, you know, past the extension date, then unfortunately I need another form of ID. And if they don't have second ID, then either, you know, I have to call the title or whomever to find out. So what are we doing now? I mean, because I can't really do anything. I verify your ID isn't valid, so really I can't even do anything. The appointment is over.
Right. Urania.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to find my picture to unmute.
But on most of the, as far as tradition, the signings that I've been getting, they have a list of IDs on what they would accept. And so if they don't have that one, I would ask them, do they have whatever's on that list form of ID, do they have any of these other forms of ID? And then if they don't, then I would let them know without that, we can't proceed the signing. But I would also call the company that gave me to sign the signing to let them know as well that they don't have a form of any other form of ID, updated ID.
So you're a very good SOP. You're covering yourself a couple of ways. You have the list that the signing service gave you, but you also want to make sure that their list of IDs is compliant.
Gotcha.
According to your state. And then you also said something that was really good, that once you've gotten all this figured out, you're going to let the signing service know. You're going to put that in your SOPs that once I determine this ID isn't valid, after I checked and asked for an additional form, I'm going to communicate with the signing service. That's all a part of your standard operating procedure with that particular situation. And I think that's very good. Myra, would you like to chime in?
Yes, I had a signing where the gentleman only had a library card. And the title company told me to accept it. I was living in California at the time. That was not acceptable. So I did use credible witnesses. That's how I complied with my state law.
So very good. You guys, your SOPs can include what Myra just said. If the signer's ID is not valid, you need to, as the notary, know what your rules on credible witnesses are, right? And that will be a way that you can continue that signing without having to delay it. Very, very good. Thank you very much, Myra, for bringing that up. Okay, let's keep it moving. We got to keep it going. When do you complete your journal? At the beginning of the signing, while the signer is signing the documents, or at the end of the signing? Choose whichever one is best for you. Professor Closen recommends that you start your journaling. Thank you, Desiree. Okay. Next, when do you administer the oath? What is your SOP for this, guys? Do you do it at the beginning of the signing while the signer is doing her signing? Are you just generally doing it when they're doing their signing? Or are you doing it at the end? What is your SOP?
Beginning.
Come on through, Dr. Closen. Okay. Jennifer, you want to chime in on that?
No, sorry.
That's okay. Myra, you want to chime in on that?
I do it wrong. I do it at the end.
Oh! And the reason we do it at the beginning, Desiree, tell us. Do you remember the reasons?
Well, you got to make sure that you confirm, you get that confirmation from the signer before they sign the documents. And I have been reading Professor Clausen's book on notary best practices. So I know that that's how it's supposed to be done. And because I'm doing more runs now, that's a part of our procedure. We do the oath right after we, tell them that it's audio, video recorded and things of that nature. But we get that out of the way first so we can proceed with the signing after that.
Well, after tonight, I have an SOP and I'm going to be doing it at the beginning.
There you go. And for you new notaries that are kind of not sure what we're talking about when we talk about Professor Closen or notary best practices, there is a book that the NNA only has. You can't get it on Amazon. It's called Notary Best Practices. It's written by Professor Michael Closen. It's C-L-O-S-E-N. He is the
I'm showing a picture of it right now.
Oh, there it is. Jennifer's holding it up. And he is the nation's leading expert in notarial law. If you or I end up in court, he is likely to be the expert witness. So why not learn from him on how to set up your business so that in the event that you have to defend yourself against a signing, that you have some documentation to show that you are a diligent and prudent notary. Those are his favorite words, diligent and prudent notary, okay? So at the beginning, you want to start your journaling because why? You want to get that signature, okay? You want to compare your signature in the journal to the signature when they're signing to the signature on your ID. If you're doing general notary work, you want that journaling first because after they get done signing that document, they try to jump up out of there, okay? So you need to document that signing before it gets to the end, before they get ready to leave. Those are the reasons why you want to do it at the beginning, your journal. Next, what will your standard oath language be? Do you solemnly swear that what you are signing, that da 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 da? Okay, type it out. We don't need to know it now. You need a standard. Type it out, put it here. What will your standard affirmation language be? Some people don't want to take an oath and swear before a higher being. Some people want to affirm. You need two, and you need to type them out on a little strip of paper, and you need to put it somewhere. Because I have here, where will you keep a copy of your standard oath or affirmation verbiage? Where does Dr. Closen, Professor Closen say you should keep it, Desiree?
In my notary journal.
That's correct. Taped to the front of my journal. So I don't have to remember it. And if I ever get called into court and someone says, hey, I don't remember her giving me the oath. I didn't swear under penalty of perjury. Y'all can't put me in jail for this crime. Professor Closen will grab Desiree's journal, and she's going to have 10 journals by that time. And in every single one of those journals, in the front copy of it, she's got these 2 strips of paper taped to each journal. Professor Closen's going to look at that and say, well, the notary seems to have been a diligent and prudent notary with regard to administering oaths and affirmations. On each of her 10 journals that I've reviewed, she has a copy of the oath and affirmation in the front. Not only that, on each entry, when she administered an oath or affirmation, she has a note here that says oath or affirmation. So I highly doubt that this notary did not administer the oath, Your Honor. I think that the witness is lying. Do you see how that works?
Perfect.
Okay, so that's why you need to type it here. And once you type it here, you need to print it out, cut it out, and put some tape on it and slap it in the front of your journal. Next, where will you keep da 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 da? Okay, what will you request the signer to do when administering an oath or an affirmation? Will you request that they stand? Will you request that they raise their right hand? Will you have a Bible in your notary bag? What will your standard procedure be for that particular ceremony? Type it up here. Moving on. If you don't have a standard procedure for this, folks, and you're out doing signings, you're going to get caught and lost in the sauce. You better have a procedure for it, and then you better do it just like what? McDonald's, the same way every single time. I cannot drive that home enough. Next question. How many times will you check the documents? Remember, we're still at the appointment. How many times will you check the documents for accuracy while at the signing? What is your standard going to be? Are you going to check it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times? I'm going to check it twice before I leave the table. You might want to check it 5 times. That's your deal. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer, but you need to have a standard operating procedure for that. Let's go on and hit next. All right, quality control and document processing. This is the end before we hit submit. So we got perfect timing because it's 9:55. Once the signing is complete, the notary service will need to have a standard operating procedure for how the documents are handled. You're done with the appointment now, okay? How many times will you check that document for accuracy after leaving the signing? Now we just did while we're at the signing check. Now this is an after. How many times I'm gonna check it twice while I'm in the driveway. Okay, I'm checking it twice at the table. I'm taking it twice at the driveway. Why? Because I don't want to have to run back out here. Okay. Final question. When will you submit the documents to the assigning party? You just type the answer in within whatever your standard procedure is going to be. Is it going to be within 24 hours? Is it going to be according to the instructions?
Yes.
You know, whatever it's going to be, you want to type that in as your SOP and you want to hit submit. Now, once you hit submit, you'll get an email. And that's the email that you want to take. Now, remember, this was just the beginning. You still have to take and work this thing out, right? You still have to take and get everything customized according to your best practices. Okay, and it's taken this email a second to come through. I was going to try to show it to you, but it hasn't come through yet. Are there any questions?
Now, I have a question. What if you don't do all the things you have, your business model does not accommodate the things that's in the questionnaire?
Very good question. If your business model, now your business model should incorporate most of it, right?
Yes, yes.
So, but there are going to be those things that you're going to need to kind of tweak. So when you get your email, once you hit submit, you're going to make sure that you go ahead on and customize your questions according to what works best for your business. You're just going to customize them accordingly.
Monica?
Yes, ma'am.
I do have a comment because I am reading all of these books, like my Notary Primer for my state and the 5 Steps to a Flawless Notarization and Professor Clausen's book. I'm going to make that a SOP for my business, is that anybody that signs on with me, they need to have read those books prior to coming on to be in my company, because I read his books after I started taking a couple of signings, and I know I made some mistakes. I was ready to let my commission expire. I was like, grace and mercy, because there were some things I just did not know. And you really have to be careful, but I'm definitely going to put at least 5 of those books down, as they are, you have to certify that you have read those books.
And you know what? They're going to talk about you so bad. Who does she think she is, trying to make us read?
Sorry.
Come to her sign and service, honey. They're going to be talking about you so bad. But exactly.
But
because
guess what? The liability is on me.
That's right. I was just about to say that. You set your business up for success the way you feel best. When I read Professor Clausen's book, that was our very first Notary Nerds Book Club book last year, folks, I stopped doing signings.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Because you don't even know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Okay? Until you start reading his book. And you can't tell me what you saw on YouTube and who said what on YouTube, because they are not the leading expert in notarial law. Okay? So when I read his book from cover to cover, okay, I realized that this is not where I want to spend the rest of my time, trying to make sure that I don't end up in jail behind people doing stuff that I don't know is bad.
Exactly.
Okay?
Dot your I's and cross your T's.
That part. So for those of you guys who haven't read his book, I highly recommend it. We're going to revisit it here again in the fall. And Urania, you're going to be our last question. Go ahead.
On this form that you had us, because I came in just a little late, I have, I think on the first part of the questions, like XXX, because I didn't know what you guys had put there, so I'm just trying to catch up. Will this thing allow you to go back and still keep the answers that you have in there?
It will. I
Or
don't
will
think
it erase
so.
it? Oh.
I think
it has a back button. I just don't want it to erase my answers.
Oh, I don't think. Yeah, when you back, I think you can back and forth while you're in it, right? But once you submit, it's submitted.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so you can stay in there and go back and back and back. Or if you want to use another email and send another, you got the link. You know, you can do another one. But the whole point is this was designed for you guys so that you can get your SOPs done. Tonight, we spent the time and we got it done, right? Okay. Now, all you got to go do is make it pretty. All you got to do is put it in Canva, make it an ebook, do whatever you want to do with it, turn it up, flip it down, whatever. It's done, right? Now, everybody, the only thing I have is the link, okay?
Yeah, I copied the link.
Okay, okay. So the
I just didn't want to lose my answers to some of the stuff I already have in it, but if I do, it's okay.
I got you. So I'm dropping the link in the chat. So everybody get the link, click on it, save it, bookmark it, whatever you got to do with it. Okay. But that's your template to begin your SOPs, right? And then I'll upload this to YouTube so that you guys can go back through it. But my point is this: now you've got a lot of it done. So I want you to pat yourselves on the back, folks.
Thank you,
have
thank you,
a-
thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
You guys
Thank you,
have-
thank you.
This is so great.
This is amazing. You guys have the biggest part of your business. You do not want to even think about recruiting anybody until you have standard operating procedures. And until you have read that book right there, Notary Best Practices, your standard operating procedures really aren't as good as you think they are. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys. My son just made dinner and he made it an hour ago. So we are using HelloFresh now, and I am so excited to go in there and see what he has cooked. It smells
They
so
good.
good.
My daughter's using that. We're using that.
Yeah, they good.
Look at Meredith with her notary. I love it. Y'all are the best notaries in the whole world. I love it. You guys have a great evening. I will get this uploaded to our YouTube channel tomorrow. Don't forget to make your SOPs pretty. Go customize them to your business. And remember, every single time, McDonald's, every signing, the same every time. You guys have a great night.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you for chat, guys.
Night.
You too. Thank you, Miss Monica.
You're welcome. Y'all have a great night.
You too.